All right. Hello, beautiful people, and welcome. My name's Alicia, and today I have two beautiful guests. And we're going to talk about resistance, we're going to talk about rest, and we're going to talk about leaving. And so, before we get into it, I would love for you two to introduce yourselves to our audience here. Welcome. Hello, hello.
Thank you so much. Hi, my name is Stephanie Perry. I'm one of the co-founders of Exodus Summit. I'm a house sitter and I like to do as little as possible. I'm glad to be back.
Hello, hello. I am Roshida Dowe. I am a career break coach. I help Black women find their joy wherever it may be around the world. And I'm the other half of Exodus Summit.
Thank you, thank you. And we're gonna talk about Exodus Summit too. So, welcome. If you all are new here, welcome. But I do want to jump right in. Rashid, I'll start with you. You said you help Black women find their joy. Could you explain like what that might look like and how someone may have lost their joy?
So I think it's not necessarily a case of losing their joy, but of never actually having actively pursued joy before, right? So many times we pursue the career, we pursue the assets, the house, the car, etc. We may even pursue a relationship. We may pursue children, but pursuing joy, right? Like figuring out what brings you true joy and saying, that is my North Star. I'm heading towards joy, right? Like whatever, whatever kind of side quest I do is fine, but I'm heading towards joy. It's something that most of us don't get an opportunity to do. And so I really love it when I get to work with women who are taking kind of a break from real life, which usually turns into like a transition into this being their new life. And they get to say like, let me figure out what it is that brings me joy. Because a lot of times we don't know, especially if you're in a situation where you're burnt out, you're frustrated, you are tired of doing what you're doing. Sometimes the burnout is so loud, you can't hear the other parts of you.
That's good. Oh, I love that. Yeah, because I love that you said it's not about necessarily losing your joy, but like when do we ever really get a chance to focus on it and like pursuing it, knowing what actually does bring us joy. Because I think, like you said, the accolades, the job, all these different things, we think that that's going to make us, and like when it doesn't, then we're kind of sitting there like, huh, like I
Is
thought
there
this was
another degree I should get? What
Right.
what
Right.
is what is the missing, right? And it's not that like you don't even want none of this stuff to begin with, like which it probably is a little bit of that, but that's not where our minds go because we've invested so much for so long into achieving that the idea of like this the thing you've achieved not being the thing that brings you joy feels like, well then damn, what did I do all that for? Like, have I wasted my life? No, because you have a whole life ahead of you. A whole life ahead of you.
yes, I do. I'm going to come back to that because yes, like investing in achievements versus our joy. So yes, I'm going to come right back to that. And Stephanie, you're talking about doing as little as possible, right? And so usually when people ask people like, "Oh, who are you? What do you do?" That's like the follow up question. What do you do? When you respond to people with that answer, what is the usual like response that you get in return?
People don't know how to take that. In most circumstances, people are only asking you what you do so they can figure out how much level of respect to give you. Right? How do I treat you? And so when I say as little as possible, they don't know. Like, so what does that mean? How do I treat you? And also, what does that mean? How do you feel about yourself? Right? I don't know anything. I don't know how to engage with a person who doesn't identify herself by her work. A lot of us don't know what else to any other way to connect with people except for the work that we do or maybe the misery that we feel around the work that we do. And so I think it helps people to see me and not the outward shell, right? Not the if I say I'm a pharmacy technician or if I say I'm a YouTuber with this size community or if I say I'm whatever, then they have an idea of like how much respect they should give me based on how much respect they feel for that role. But when they find out that I'm not going to identify myself by that, then we got to start from the beginning. We got to start with the person.
I love that. I love that because I think I felt some like trepidation around doing little,
Yeah.
right? Like there's this there's this campaign, I'm gonna use campaign. There's this campaign for Black women specifically to do the most, right? And Roshida, you were talking about like, oh, should I just get another degree, right? When we sit down, we're like, I'm bored. What should I do? Like, let me sign up, for classes or, yeah, please.
But how much of that board is really unfulfilled? Because you got stuff to do. You got stuff to do, right? Like your to-do list is long. The homies is calling. You could be outside. You could be inside. There are things to do, but are they fulfilling you? Are they bringing you back to that joy? No. And so it's that outward search of what will fill this hole. And a lot of times, what we are allowed to fill the hole with by society are like one of like maybe 10 things, right? Go to church, right? If the hole's not full, go to church. Get a degree, get a new job, but probably not. Be better at the job you have now, right? Like there are only so many. Have a baby. How you gonna give me all this work to do just because I said I'm not happy, right? Like, or I feel unfulfilled. A baby, right? Like all the things we are allowed to strive for are very limited.
Ooh, okay, yes, allow. That is a very specific word and it's very intentional. Like using that word aloud. I do want to, so I've been reading this book called All Black Girls Are Activists, right? And in this book, Ebony Janice wrote the book, and I want to read a little of an excerpt of it to you all, because I really think it comes down to that, because everything that you were mentioning was labor, like everything, right? Like even if you join a church, usually you're going to be involved by doing what? Serving, right? Like
a woman, guess what? You're
exactly. Like, oh, sign up for these things or have a child. Like that's a lot of work. Raising a child is not just like, oh, play. Like, no, this is forever. So I want to read this excerpt. This is from the In Pursuit of Dreaming. This is a section in her book. And she says, if I am being identified most commonly by my work and not by my dreams, my ideas, the things that make me wonder and leave me in awe, I am not just in a constant cycle of being oppressed, even inside the work I'm doing to so-called bring me and us out of oppression. That's a question. Sorry. Am I not just, the wrong inflections. Am I not just in a constant cycle of still being oppressed, even inside of the work that I'm doing to so-called bring me and us out of oppression? And she goes on to talk about Toni Morrison. And Toni Morrison has like that famous quote that says, the very serious function of racism is distraction, right? It keeps you from doing your work. It keeps you explaining over and over again your reason for being. Somebody says you have no language and you spend 20 years proving that you do. Somebody says your head isn't shaped properly, so you have scientists working on the fact that it is. Somebody says you have no art, so you dredge that up. Somebody says you have no kingdoms, so you dredge that up. None of this is necessary. There will always be one more thing. There will always be one more thing. And also another person, Zora Neale Hurston, in Their Eyes Were Watching God, she has this quote in there that says, the N-word woman is the mule of the world, right? And so I'm saying all that to say, and this is the book, I'm saying all that to say that that for Black women specifically, we hardly ever have a chance to center our joy and our rest. Like that's usually seen as like the reward, maybe the reward after doing more work. And I want to ask you both, like, did you ever have a chance before moving, and we'll get into that, did you ever have a chance like to really center yourself like here in the States? Like were you ever like your own, like everybody talks about like main character energy, and I just want to know, like, have you ever felt like this, the main character of your own story?
Not when I had to relate to other people, right? Like by myself in my own world, yes, I can be the main character, but being keeping main character energy going when you got to go to work and talk to that boss, right? When like, here's that man and he back and his texts are crazy once again. Right? It's really hard to like live in main character energy, or even energy if it's not like I'm the main character in all of our worlds, but like really centering yourself in your own world is really hard, especially as a Black woman, because service, right, is our special gift, right? Like service is the expectation of almost every facet of society. Like you were saying before, we are the mules. We are expected to lift everybody up and come last if we have requests, if we have needs. Those need to come last to serving. And so no.
I don't know. Maybe I don't understand main character. So I think I did center myself. I lived, it was just me in my life, but I didn't feel like I was writing the story, right? So I did feel like I got to center myself in my old life, but I feel like the story was the story I chose to be in, right? Just a whole different genre than I wanted to be in. I was the main character in my life because I set up my life from a very young age to not have a whole lot of people expect a whole lot from me. So I didn't have a whole lot of expectations on me, except that I was going to go, except that the path was pretty narrow. And so for me, I think it was more about like agency. It was more about me, less about needing to center myself and more about agency, more about me having the say, the control, the ideas, the being in charge of things instead of, like, excellence says you got to do this. Christianity says you got to do this. Capitalism says you got to do this, right? I got a lot of people writing out the plot points for me.
No, thank you. Thank you for sharing that and clarifying that, because that is a great point. It's like, yeah, technically I have the choices to make. I have autonomy. However, like, these are the parameters with which I can like operate in, right? Like, versus like, oh no, like actually I can do something completely different. I have other choices beyond what people have shown me. Okay, yeah. That's really good. Yeah. Yeah. I asked that because I know for me, it's actually really hard. Like centering myself does not come very easy for me, because I think there are things, I guess, in life, in generally speaking, in Black women's lives, where it's like we're celebrated for being the martyrs. Like, we're celebrated for sacrificing for everyone else. I often hear folks talk about like Mother's Day posts, right? And how like the Mother's Day post is like, oh my gosh, she gave up everything for me and she suffered so long. And like, that's the reason why. Like, that's the reason why they're celebrated. Yes, please.
Or like the anniversary posts are worse for me.
Yes.
Even though I ran her ragged, she has never left my side. Oh, go kill yourself. Like, what are we doing? Like, truly, what are we doing? What are we doing if that is what love looks like to you? If that is what you're grateful for, if that is how you think I'm showing my love, is accepting abuse, what are we doing here? Because I don't want it.
No, keep it.
Yes. It's like our loyalty, again, our martyrdom, our loyalty to like death, like not even just physical death, but death of our dreams, death of our hopes and our desires and our wants, like, is celebrated and pedestalized as if like that is our main agenda. Like, when we come into the earth, I think about that even as a girl, like how you come into the world and it's like, oh, okay, like, you're going to help, I don't know, you're going to help mommy or grandma, and you're going to, be in the kitchen helping them cook stuff. And like, we're loved and adored for the things that we do for other people. But yes, please, go ahead.
And it would almost, I could almost let that stuff slide if it was like, but now things are different, right? But now she stuck it out with me for 20 years and I am a changed man. Or like, in a grander scale, you have suffered, but now that you've clocked into 45, your suffering is over, right? Like, till death. The only thing we not pardon with till death is the idea that you are supposed to be a servant, right? To everybody around you. You're supposed to subjugate your desires to other people's. Not like when will the anniversary post be like, those first 3 years I was messing up, but damn it, I'm a new person now. Never again. She stabbed me that one time and that's all it took. Right? Like, it's never that. It's like, I used to put her through it, and everybody in the background is like, and you still are. Okay, well, great. Another post next year about how you've been putting her through it.
Yes.
And it on the like I said, on the grander scale, it's what society does to us as well. We gotta run for president because somebody's got to save the country. You gotta do this because somebody's got to save the Black community. You gotta do that.
You've got to go on live and explain to everyone how it's okay to be a cat lady, a single cat lady. Right, girl, stop explaining. Live your life. Stop trying to ask people. There are people who are never going to see you as a worthwhile person. There's nothing you can say. Toni Morrison was right? Toni Morrison was right. Nothing you can say that will create that will make you a human to people who don't view you as a human.
To people who don't value you, they're never gonna value you. When you said that quote earlier, it reminded me of people like posting Haitian food. You know, they don't eat cats and dogs. And the people who want to believe, the descendants of cannibals who want to believe that Haitians eat cats and dogs, they're gonna look at that photo and be like, no, that's not it.
Right.
I saw the cat on the grill with my own 2 eyes in a video from I don't know where and what, and it could be lamb because I don't know animals apart, but they said it was cats and dogs. So, right, like so much effort goes into proving to specific people, to random people, to America, to the world, that we are actually humans and deserve to be treated like humans. But then people aren't listening to what you're saying. So what are you doing? All this, you only have so much energy in this world and you're dedicating it to people who hate you?
Drag us all. Drag
not
us.
Me.
Yes.
Giving up on convincing people in general is just such a wonderful thing to do. It's the thing that you see in them over 60s, how they be so rowdy. Black women over 60s, rowdy and out of pocket, right? Part of it is they have stopped trying to convince people of anything, and they are just living in their own space. I appreciate seeing that from them. Giving up for myself the idea of trying to convince people. There's no end result. Nothing good comes out of it.
Nothing. More abuse, right? Like last month, it was the Venezuelans are taking over. Now it's the Haitians. Just say you hate anybody whose skin is darker than yours and go, right? Just say it and move around. I'm not going to be at your Thanksgiving table trying to convince you. You guys need to go home and talk to your racist uncles about for why. Anyhow.
No, please. This was excellent because like even the questions that I wrote down, like the notes that I was taking, I was thinking about the cape, right? And we'll talk about the cape too, but we also don't talk enough about how a lot of our energy, like you're talking about, a lot of our energy and our effort does go into exhausting ourselves, trying to prove that we are worthy enough to other people. And it's like, that's not what your brilliance is for. That's not what your energy is for, right? And like, I recently learned that, you know what I mean? Because I'm like, no, you come out, I'm going to change the world. I'm going to like love people to life. And then you realize like, oh, it's like talking to a brick wall. Like you're literally like throwing yourself full force into a brick wall, into people who don't want to know, don't want to change their minds.
No, yeah. I posted a video a long time ago about my experience in Argentina and how I was like, I think these people are a little racist. And this woman was like, so 7 taxis didn't stop for you? Obviously, they didn't like the way you looked. And then, so clickety, like you would think something's turning for her, but no, she goes to tell me why it's my fault. It wasn't racism, but it was my fault. And I'm like, oh, you were so close. But you know what I'm gonna do? Ignore you. Like I'm not, sometimes I be in the comments like, go suck your mother, right? But like a lot of times.
I don't think we talk like that on Alicia's channel.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's why I use the S and not the F on that actual one. But I do not argue on the internet with anybody. I don't, because truly, honestly, like my attitude about a lot of stuff is that like, I didn't know you were alive 30 seconds ago. I'm still not convinced you're a real person and not a bot. If you are a real person and you died tomorrow, I wouldn't know and I wouldn't pretend to care. So what I look like arguing with you about any anything. You think black people bear the mark of Satan? Okay.
It's like that means surprise, surprise, right? Like just like
Like,
okay.
whatever it is you believe about me because of how I present,
Mm-hmm.
believe that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Even in the
Cool.
real
Yes.
should be the responsibility of the oppressed, right? It shouldn't be the responsibility of the oppressed to educate the
Mhm.
other people. It should be them. They bear that responsibility. There's no reason for us to take that on.
But that would be doing work, and they don't want to do work. They want you to do the work for them.
They can learn.
Tap out. Tap out of arguing people you don't know. I don't know that you're alive. I don't care if you die. Like, and it sounds terrible to say it, but I really don't care if you die.
I mean, these people are literally like dehumanizing you, and I don't think that that's. I think that there's this expectation that like people who are oppressed have to be considerate and kind and compassionate to people who hate them. And like for me, I don't understand where that comes from. Like this constant need to like criticize folks who are literally who have been harmed in multiple ways, like on purpose by people who couldn't care less about them. Like, yeah, me saying like you saying you couldn't care less is not, it's not gonna do nothing to them. You know what I'm saying? Like it might hurt their ego and their pride, but they're fine. They're gonna be okay, you know? So yeah, like I think go ahead, sorry.
I'll say they're still making like $1 to every 60 cents I make. So
That part.
whatever.
That part. That's true. Yes. I do want to I want to talk about the cape.
Mm-hmm.
I hear this phrase being used, put the cape down, take the cape off, black women. And I want to ask you all, what is the cape? Like in your understanding of the cape? Because I think a lot of times when I hear it being used, like I know, but I want to hear from your perspective. Like I hear a lot of people say in terms of like, oh, we're fighting for social justice, or we're fighting for black men, or we're fighting for insert thing here at your job, right? Like fighting for equity and like equal pay. But a lot of people don't realize like this cape is like strangling us. Like this cape is like, it's almost, I'm thinking about The Incredibles with Edna Mode and how she's like, no capes, right? Because every time a person wore a cape, it got caught in like the wind fan. It almost feels like when we try to do good, those black women who put on this cape, someone is there to like yank us back down if we were to move, I guess, in a way that they don't deem appropriate. But I would love to hear from you both. Like what is the cape in your understanding?
Anytime you're expected to behave not like a human, but like a superhuman.
Mm-hmm.
You're expected to put your feelings to the side. Anytime you're expected to put your own wants or your own needs aside for the benefit of someone else, that's wearing the cape, right? For a while, there was real like feelings and conversation in the world that black women were superheroes. And it was upsetting. So upsetting, because even the black women who were like, yes, black women, we're superheroes, they were dying early, right? We're going to your funerals. Your blood pressure is through the roof. Mm-hmm. You're not a hero, but behaving like your physical needs, like your emotional needs don't matter is a thing superheroes have to do, right? That's wearing the cape. But they're not human. Right? That's the whole point. They're not humans. Anything that requires us to put aside our own humanity. No, the other people aren't the only people who don't treat us like humans. We also don't treat ourselves like humans. Mm-hmm. We also value our own needs, our own wants, our own lives. To me, taking off the cape and setting it on fire, burning it into ash, is about no longer sacrificing me for you.
Mm-hmm. And there are a number of different arenas in which we're expected to sacrifice ourselves. At work, we're supposed to expect to sacrifice ourselves in exchange for money. In The streets, we're expected to sacrifice ourselves in exchange for community. In our homes, we're expected to sacrifice ourselves in exchange for love and connection. But a lot of it looks very similar in the sense that, like, if you're really good at sacrificing yourself for money at work, what do you get? More work, no more money, right? In the streets, if you got this cape on and you are saving community and you are serving it, what's going to happen? It's another windmill to tilt at, and another one, and another one, and another one, over and over and over again. It's just a new dragon in my way today. Like, right? Like, the dragons get bigger, or here come some new ones. And first it was just flames, and now it's like flaming spears. Like, what's happening here, right? It's not like we've never seen, in my memory of history, a social justice movement where someone has been like, we have accomplished this, and now it is all good, right? And now it is all good. And not that a lot of social justice movements shouldn't have happened. I'm very glad historically a lot of them had happened. But maybe you ain't got to hit me with a fire hose. Like, I'm not into that. I'm truly not, especially because we see the backlash that happens so often, right? Like, we saw Ferguson. What happened? More police. New York is going wild right now with their cops. 150 million in overtime? What y'all doing out there? Besides, like, breaking Black bodies, what are you doing out there? Like, there's always that, you know, one step ahead, half a step back. Always that. And the half step back is starting to look like a whole step back in a lot of things. What happened to Roe v. Wade? Y'all said y'all got, oh, the baby's not really working inside. You got to die, right? Before you can do a DNC. Why absolutely wild things happening in the ways that, like, I never thought I would live to see a day where, like, abortion wouldn't be free, like, easily accessible, freely accessible. All these states, you got to tell your kids not to go to, like, your daughters not to go to. Girl, get out of there, right? Like, there's the cape, right, isn't just slowing you down. You're not catching the wind underneath it. You're expected to, right? It's not giving you the power of flight. It's just this heavy lead bib holding you down and maybe collecting some more work in it around the edges.
That is, yeah, that is a great, because even when you say, like, there's no movement that's been, there's no movement that has taken place that, like, oh, we're done now, right? Because it's really rooted in an idea, right? And, like, we can't kill that idea, right? If, like, going back to what we were talking about before, people who want to hate you cannot convince them not to hate you.
No.
Like, they're going to find any reason, anything to support it, right? And I think about, yes, like, all the benefits that we currently are reaping from the work that, you know, our ancestors, our parents, our parents did, like, all the sacrifices they made for us. And at the same time, I think for myself, like, I felt some guilt because I come from such strong Black women, this is another trope that Black women live under. And it's like, oh, I have to be as strong or stronger than them. Like, almost, I feel like a lot of Black women feel like they're being passed the reins, so to speak. Like, okay, like, I'm getting older now. It's your turn. It's your turn to take up the mantle, and to move forward. But I think a lot of us are kind of like feeling the weight of it. We've seen what it's done to our parents. We've seen what it's done to our grandparents. You know, I think about even, like, what capitalism has taken from us, right? Like, I think about all my ancestors who passed away early, like, you know, of heart attacks, like 50, 40, 30 something years old, like, just very young. And when I realized the cost of carrying that mantle, and to, I kind of want to put it down and pick up a new mantle, like, pick up something different. And if and when I have children, or, you know, if I mentor I want to give them a different mantle to carry that's not so heavy and burdensome.
Yeah. I think there is an option of opting out in a lot of ways. It looks different for a lot of different people. For us, we've opted out by leaving the country. Just leave the country. You could sacrifice your life for certain rights, or you could go to a place where they have those rights, right? So one way that people can do that is to opt out. I understand that, you want things to be better, but sometimes it requires you to pick up your feet and move to a place where things are better, instead of staying in the mud, instead of staying in the struggle, in the quicksand. You're in quicksand. So yeah, yes to that. But there's some things that we can opt out of and still, be connected to other people, still be a contributor to the earth, or whatever. The hippie girls, they want to feel connected to humanity. You can do that, but it doesn't require you to give up your life. You can really opt out of certain stuff.
Mm-hmm. And the reasons that I hear from Black people about why they owe it to their ancestors to not opt out, I'm always like, is what you're saying rooted in reality? And if so, like, we might live in two different realities. Like, I can't leave because I'm gonna be here to get my reparations. Maybe the reparations are a couple decades behind schedule. like a lot of, and we've seen them give reparations to people they are interested in paying reparations to. It's not like it's like nobody's ever gotten reparations of a country, and Black people who've been harmed worse. Not that there should be some kind of contest, but Black people have been harmed worse in the U.S. than almost anybody else. They still don't see you as a human being worthy of reparations. That's not going to happen. I can't give up. I can't leave this country because my ancestors built it. Well, what is it doing for you? Right? If you got to wonder if today's the day you get shot at the grocery store or if your kids get shot at school, what is this land that your ancestors built currently doing for you except keeping you trapped?
I love that, because I think there was a live, and I think Erica De Niro TV, I think, said it, or she repeated what somebody else said. Yes, shout out to Erica De Niro TV. But she either repeated what somebody else said and was like, our ancestors, we think about like our ancestors building this country, right? And a great perspective that was offered was like, your ancestors didn't even want to be here.
Want to?
They didn't have a choice. They were chilling somewhere else. And
yes.
Why am I in it? Why am I in it?
They didn't want to come here. They didn't want to be here. They didn't want to build it, right? And so like, we think that we're paying this like this debt, I guess, like to our ancestors who weren't free, like, and I put free in quotes because like we say, oh yeah, we're free now, but that's questionable. But we want to pay back this debt and honor them. But it's like, no, like my ancestors would probably be like, go be free. Like the best way to honor them is by opting out, by not having to feel like I have to hold the system all together, because literally the whole system was on their backs. Like they held the whole system together, their labor. Yes,
I
please.
can't imagine that our ancestors are like, I see what's going on here. I like it for you, right? Like, no, and that's not to say that they didn't have it worse, right? But like, it's not getting better. Like, we're going backwards. Right now, we are going backwards, not forwards. And so, if we're going backwards, how far backwards are we going, right? Like, if the Republicans get back in office, if they come real strong, what rights is the Supreme Court going to be like, nah, actually, about women voting? I don't think so. And what comes after women not voting? All you darkies.
Basically.
Yes.
Yes.
Like a notebook paper test. If you can't pass it, right?
Yep. Like it's amazing to me how we feel so. Like, I get it. The thing is, I get it. But at the same time, it's like, no, like, you're a free individual. You are. I know we keep saying, like, you're your ancestors' wildest dream. But for real, like, honestly and truly, our ancestors could not even imagine where we are today. And just like that quote we talk about, like, if somebody stabs me, I think it was Malcolm X, if somebody stabs me and then pulls a knife out a little bit, like, they're still stabbing me, right? Like, so the fact that, yeah, like it still hurts. We're still feeling the effects of it. And in a lot of ways that a lot of people seem to want to fight these things are like building nonprofits and starting businesses and these kinds of things, which is, I have thoughts. I have a lot of thoughts, but I don't know if that is where our energy is best spent. We have need. I think there is a need in every arena, and we often talk about resistance and this idea of like, oh yeah, resist, but we don't really talk about like, no, like our ancestors resisted too by leaving. Like there were a bunch of folks who were enslaved, right? Who went to Mexico. There are a bunch of folks who were enslaved that like ran, that left. And there were also some that stayed and fought. And there were some that stayed and understood that this is where I'm going to be. Probably this is where I choose to be. Right. And even still, and this is not on some, because you know how folks get, but this is not on some like slavery is a choice thing. That's not what I mean. What I'm saying is that leaving is just as radical as it is staying and fighting. Like both are honorable and one is not less than the other. Yeah.
And there's the idea that you can leave, right? And that you have the tools to leave. It's not something everyone wants to do. It's not something everyone wants to embrace. And that's okay because somebody has to fight. It's just not me, right? Like I am clear. This is not my fight. I'm not going to argue with you online. I'm not going to argue with you in person, right? Either I'm going to walk away or I'm going to hit you with a rock. Those are our options. I don't think I would want to go to jail. So I'm like, I go to a place where no one's arguing with me. A lot of my interaction with American society is online. And I see people saying things in 2024, like the only people who should be voting are Christian male landowners. It's 2024, big dog. Like, what? But it just reminds me that some people who are going to say that are just, they're trying to be provocative. But some people truly believe that. And I don't want to live amongst people who are believing that. And I got to go to work and smile in your face because I don't know that you believe that. And I got to go to the grocery store. And in these open carry states, I got to be in places where you got a gun. And who knows what, right? No, thank you. No, thank you. Because I'm not built for that foolishness. It's easier for me to be somewhere else and say, okay, my systems are calm, right? I feel good and at peace. And I'm doing what I can to free other Black women. That's my fight. That's my fight. I get up here, y'all can say whatever y'all want. You can call it a cult. Y'all can say we're trying to kidnap people. Y'all can say we're crazy lesbians who will never be looked at by a man again. Cool, right? Like, I don't care. As long as I can help another Black woman get free in a way that she wants to be free, right? It's fine.
I love that. I want to read the definition of radical, and I want to read the definition of resist. So radical, especially of change or action relating to or affecting the fundamental nature of something, far-reaching or thorough, or a person who advocates, so a noun, a person who advocates thorough or complete political or social reform, a member of a political party, or part of a party pursuing such aims. And then coming down the definition of resist. The refusal to accept or comply with something, the attempt to prevent something by action or argument, or the ability not to be affected by something, especially adversely. And so you all mentioned something like your work is one, getting free, right? And then also helping other people get free. And I really want to talk about that because I think a lot of us have it backwards where we feel like I can't save myself. I have to save everybody else. And I'm people that have it backwards because I feel like I was operating from no matter how tired I am, no matter how, to the brim I am, like no matter how much margin I don't have, I still have to be useful. I still have to be helpful to other people. And I didn't realize that actually helping myself first is helpful to other people because one, like if I'm not helping myself, then I'm no good to anybody, not even myself. and then I'm doing things to try to save other people. But what good is doing all those good things to save other people if you're not going to be there to actually witness other people be saved, right? And so I want to ask you both, when did you know, like in your journeys, like when did you know that it was time to go, that it was time to opt out? Like what was the moment for you both?
So I have one that like goes way back. So at my first job at a law school, I was working at this terrible law firm. May they all like, woo. Okay, so terrible law firm. And at some point, like the Black people got together and was like, yeah, like what's happening? Like, why are we all leaving? We know why we're all leaving, but like, what can the firm do to keep us, et cetera? So we're having conversations, and they got escalated through like, you know, the channels you have to escalate things to get things done at. And what came back was, well, y'all need to figure out why you're going and what you can do to get the Black people to stay. This is my first year. I have worked at this place for like 3 months, and my friend and I were like, so we have to, it feels like you have to throw your own birthday party. Like if you don't want to be run up off this job, you got to figure out what to do to not get run up off this job. And I was like, this is like, I don't care in action, right? Like this is, baby, that's not a me problem. That's a you problem in action. And I see it I see that pattern repeat over and over and over in our lives, at least in my life, of like, if you want to live in this country, you got to figure out how you're not going to die because someone was having a bad day or some kid, you know, whatever. Like if you shouldn't be on the wrong car, the wrong metro car in New York, because stuff could happen, right? Like all the time of like, the responsibility is on you to figure out how you're going to get through a system that is all the decks. They stacked all the decks against you, and you got to figure out what you are going to do to make it through. And that every time I see it, I can like visualize it. I'm like, no, this is like, where's the exit? Where's the exit from this? Because I know there's no winning the game because you don't want me to win. If y'all wanted Black people to stay, you would have put some at the firm, you would have put some resources behind it, and some white people with some power behind it. Not two people who've been working at this firm for 3 months, telling us it's our job to figure it out. No, right? That is for me, like just a lot of repetitions of that, of like, it's your responsibility to, how many times do we have to check to make sure our voting registrations haven't been thrown away? Right? You stack all the decks against me, and then you mad when I'm like, I don't have a whole hand. Right? And so that like on a grander scale, that was it for me, just seeing that over and over and over again.
I got to be out of the country, you know, for a full year, and I was only 41 when I left. And then I was like, oh, I don't want to go back. It just reframed everything. It helped put everything into perspective. I see a couple of comments here about, but anti-Blackness is everywhere and whatever. Girl, it's not the same. It's not the same. In this country, you have to spend so much of your day making white people feel more comfortable if you come into contact with them. In this country, you have to spend so much of your time advocating for yourself extra hard because you're a Black woman. It's not the same. There are places where people mind their business and you can live your life. There are places where your children can run free, right? Like run wild. Your children can just be kids out in the streets, and y'all don't have to tiptoe around certain neighbors, certain police officers, certain security guards, right? It's really not the same. There is privilege that comes with being an American, having an American accent and American dollars, or a British accent or a Canadian accent. There is privilege that comes with that as well. That means that you're not ever gonna feel like you feel in the US. I went to Australia, which has a reputation of still being very racist. Australians are still very racist people. And even there, where I saw them like not view the Aboriginal people as human, right? Even there, I wasn't mistreated the way that Aboriginal people were mistreated. I will never go back to Australia. I didn't like it. It's a terrible feeling to see people treated like we're treated at home. It's a terrible thing to go somewhere else and see some other people treated like we're treated here in the United States. But even there, with the racist people that they didn't treat me like that. Even there, I didn't have to look over my shoulder. Even there, like I have a habit of looking in windows. I'm vain and I look at my reflection all the time. And I have a habit of looking in windows, and I have to train myself in the United States. Stephanie, stop looking. Every car you pass, you cannot be looking in these car windows at yourself, because you're gonna something's gonna happen, right? You don't have to live your life like that. We have so many ways that we have trained ourselves to be less, get less attention from white people and make white people feel less uncomfortable. You don't know it, but you do it. And you can go to a place where you don't have to live like that. There's no place like this place, I'm telling you. Well, I'm that place. I'm not even there, but I'm that place.
That's true. You said I'm not even there. I know that's right. Because it's like, but that hypervigilance, like I think what we don't understand as Americans, right, or people living in America, sometimes we have normalized how hypervigilant we are. Right. And so like that is the norm. I hear you when you talk about like, oh, don't look in the car reflection because they might assume something. When I'm in the store or Target or something, so I shop with like a tote bag, and I feel the need to always make it extra, like make myself visible so that people know I'm not stealing your thing. I'm just putting it in here so that I can take it to the cash register to cash out. And like that is wearing on you. Like that wears on you. That when I was really sitting in the moment, like, why do I feel like I'm a criminal and I'm not? Why do I feel like I'm doing something illegal and I'm just trying to shop? Because I don't want white folks or the security guard at the Target that's following me, that's not really following me, like to look at me sideways and see me as a person stealing. I don't even want to say criminal because that's also racialized. But this feeling you talk about, so not that I was gone for a long time, but I went to Mexico for almost a month. It was in Playa del Carmen. And it was really interesting. There was so many cultural differences. Like I felt like, and obviously like Playa del Carmen is like a touristy place. So depending on where you are, probably depends on your experience. But I've also heard from people in other places in Mexico, right? And how they experience their life and how there's almost like a calming that takes place. Like it's almost like in America, we're walking with our shoulders like this, like always on guard. And then when you go somewhere else, like you're able to breathe in a way that you're not able to breathe here. But I do want to address some concerns in the chat that I see, and I've been starring some comments while we've been talking. Let's see. Hi, Praise the Sun. So Praise the Sun says we cannot individual action our way out of systemic problems. Take care of yourself, but don't expect that to fix everything. So first of all, do you all have anything that comes up when you see this comment at all?
So I think that the individual action can be to remove yourself from the systemic problem. I think that the United States is rotten at the foundation. And I think an individual action that you could take is making sure that your family does not have to operate under that system anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And yes, there are problems everywhere you go. But a lot of times, here's a piece of privilege that I actually hate saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. A lot of times when you go abroad, those problems are not your problems, right? Like a lot of times, like I have residency in Mexico. I'm not a citizen. I can't protest here because if I get involved in any political action, they can give me the boot and tell me my residency is gone, right? If I was a citizen, it would be different. I could protest, right? Like they love to protest down here. They're going to shut the street down in a hot second, right? It's a good time. But me, as someone who does not have full rights in this country, I can't protest. And so like, yes, it means that I'm a little bit less hands-on involved and I don't have the same depth as I would in the US. But I'm not mad at that, right? Like, I would like a break from political problems, please. Like, it's been a long 45 years. I would like it. And we've had all kinds of them. You know what I mean? Like, I removed myself to a place where, like, I can only do so much. It's very surface level. And that there's good things about it and there's bad things about it. It's just a choice I made. Everyone's not going to make the same choice.
No, thank you for sharing that. I didn't even consider that. I was like, oh, wow, yeah, no.
No, they don't. Foreigners protest here all the time.
Mm-hmm.
As for me and my residency,
right,
be in the house, I'm gonna give y'all a little this while I walk by.
Yes, yes.
I'm not marching down the street.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I like living here.
Nice to put money to something and then go on about your day.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm going on about my peaceful life.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I have a lot of years of messed up nervous system to recalibrate,
mm-hmm.
a healing to do. Here's some money. I'm going on about my day.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, oh, sorry, go ahead, please.
I'm just saying, it feels good.
Yeah. I love that too, because I think even for me, I always feel a tinge of guilt, because this next comment is what I was looking at. But do we really accomplish freedom by leaving, especially because other countries have been indoctrinated by Western racist ideals and ideologies of Europeans, right? And like the thing is, yes, right? Like Europeans have taken their stuff, their crap all over the world. But I would love to hear your responses.
Racists are everywhere. It's rare to be in a place where racists feel as empowered as they do in the US, right? So like, for me, you'll hear a lot of things I say to come down to safety. Like, no, the police officers here aren't going to shoot me because I'm Black. They're going to avoid me because I think I speak English and they don't want to talk to me, right? I got to run up on them to ask them a question because they're like, oh girl, she gonna speak to us in English, isn't she, right? Like, it's a very different, we have a lot of systemic racism in the US, right? A lot of racism is naturally built into the structures because of the way this country was founded. A lot of people with power are racist, and every day they mind saying it less, whether that is the police officers who are roaming our streets, whether it's the politicians. There's a lot of racists in power. People in other countries have more shame. Yes, you may be racist, but it's much rarer for them to be like in their Congress being like, about them Haitians eating dogs. Let's talk about, right? Like, it's a lot more rare for that to happen. It's a lot more rare for for Black Americans abroad to be victims to state-sanctioned violence than they are Black Americans in the US. And that is like a per capita number. It's just less likely to happen.
Statistically speaking, your doctors and your nurses in the United States actually believe you have a higher pain tolerance because they actually believe you need less care because you're right. You can't tell me you can't get more freedom by leaving. Right? Like, your teachers believe that your students are more, are badder, or worse because they're Black. That's statistics, right? That's not just me and my handful of observations, right? Those things are well documented. There is freedom in another place. Our loyalty to this place is misguided. I understand being born in a country, but that doesn't mean that you need to stay loyal to it. Especially if you start to think that maybe this country is the villain, right? Only one country in the whole world has dropped the atomic bomb, and it's been the United States, and we did it 2 times, okay? Maybe the United States is the villain. Maybe there is some peace and some freedom by freeing yourself from that country as much as you can. Maybe that means you spend a few months out of the country now, and then you come back, right? Maybe that means every winter you go away, or maybe it means one winter you go away. Working on your attachment to the United States, lessening your attachment to the United States of America, that is freeing. It is freedom. It will liberate you.
Yes. please.
I think it can be scary at first because we're told all the time that like it's the best country in the world. So where else would you go? They don't even got roads over in them other places, right? They got all them animals. They got like the food is terrible. You're not gonna get any health care. The education is bad. And it's like, it sounds like you're talking about Mississippi. Like, what are we talking? Like, no shade, but like, how many places in America don't have clean water? How many places in America have just ridiculous mortality rates for pregnant women, Black pregnant, like what we don't, the place we're living is not that great, right? So if you really go abroad, right, and not just I went on vacation to this place and I stayed in the resort, which no shade, I love it, I understand, but you spend a month or 3 months in another place and realize that like when you go to the doctor is going to spend an hour talking to you just to get to know you and figure out what's going on with you. You know, we talked to our friend Zolani the other day, and she walked into what I think sounded like a roadside clinic with her daughter to get some eczema meds because her daughter was 4 and has eczema that's flaring up, and they're from the UK, and that they're in Mexico now. The doctor who was supposed to be looking at her arm at the eczema meds heard some kind of heart murmur and was like, I think you need to take your baby to like take her to the hospital, take her to the cardiac care unit. And this is kids are young. They're going to doctors all the time. No one in the UK caught it, right? I went to a doctor here. I have a number of like chronic autoimmune issues that I've had for 30 something years. I went to a doctor here once. He was trying to get me to take this med. And I was like, I've taken similar meds before. I've never done anything. This man looked me in my face and said, but I've never been your doctor before. And I was like, pump your brakes. It's a little too cocky for me, right? It's a little too, you know what I mean? Like, I know me. I know how this disease has broken me. You don't know me like that. Maybe in like 3 weeks, the symptoms that I had for 30 years were gone. And I was like, oh. And maybe he didn't know what he was talking about. And that's, it's simple. I don't think that they're better doctors. I think they're given more time to see you and they're more invested in your care. It's not just cross her off, get to the next room, cross her off, get to the next room. It's like, okay, what are we doing? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about everything. Let's go way back. And then having over-the-counter meds that are accessible medical care where it's not crazy expensive. So many things make medical care outside of the US better than medical care in the US just generally, right? Like being able to walk into a pharmacy off the street and be like, give me 6 months of this, right? And then it's $20 or maybe even $200, but it's not thousands of dollars, right? Like all of those things are reasons why I don't live in America anymore. Because why am I in this waiting room for 5 hours?
Yeah. Racism and stuff are everywhere, and capitalism and stuff are everywhere, but they're not on the same level.
No.
Healthcare, the healthcare for profit is to be very, very only in America, right? Like it seems to be. I've been to every country. Between us, we've probably been to 50 countries, I'm guessing, because we have a lot of overlap, a lot of repeat countries. But I haven't seen any place where they treat healthcare as a way to make a profit off of the people. It's a system that needs to be able to sustain itself, but not, or maybe not, maybe it's fed from other systems, right? But it's not a system, it's not a method of taking money from poor or people and making profit for the shareholders like it is in the United States. Capitalism plus healthcare came together in such a deadly way. That alone, healthcare alone is a reason to go. That fact that you're probably going to find, like people just treat you like a person, back to the beginning, right? People are going to treat, and that includes your doctors, right? That includes your dentists and your dermatologists and whatever. I hope, so I know that we might sound a little doom and gloom about the United States, but it's because our lives are so much better, right? Because we are on the other side and we can see the difference. While we were in it, we didn't know that. We didn't know this. We didn't notice this stuff. We thought it had to be that way. But now we're on the other side of it. And it's so scary for the people who we know and love who have to live under that system. I think that's what you're hearing from us. I think we might sound really harsh today, but it's because we're on the other side of it, because we get to live our lives in peace, relative safety, right? In like harmony, with quality of life that we didn't know to expect. We didn't even expect in the US. Now we have it just by being someplace. If you have other people who are reasons that you think you can't go, those people may benefit from being in a new country, right? Maybe your children, maybe your parents, right? If they're willing to come with you, you might find that all of y'all could thrive in a new place.
I think so. I think it's Yvonne's comment about how, his grandparents are sharecroppers, mom participated in civil rights, so he's respecting their bloodshed sacrifices. I'm not mad at it, right? Like no one here is trying to convince you that you should leave. I am here for the Black women who are like, this sounds interesting, or what would it be like, right? Like, we're not here to tell you America's terrible, you need to leave today. That's not it at all. But if you're like, I wonder what my life could be like, there are quite a few women here, the Awkward Black Nomad, Dee, Marissa Price, who live abroad and will tell you that we're not just saying this. These are not just words that we're saying. Like, their lives have changed from their experience outside of the country. And if that's something where you're like, I'd like to explore it, whether for a short time, long time, or just maybe just explore it on paper to see what that's like, we're here for you. Yes, I've also seen people say, like, it's easy to say, but it's not so easy to do. None of us would ever say it's easy to do, right? It can be super easy, but for most people it's not. And so us saying it's possible isn't us saying that it's an easy thing to do. Those are not the same sentences. We are saying that it would take work, but that's also why we help people do it. We help you figure out how much money you need and how much money you actually have. We help people figure out like how to get remote work, because remote work, right? Like that can superpower your time abroad. This year at the summit, we're helping people figure out how to talk to their employer about either taking a break or taking their job on the road, right? Like we understand. The whole point of a summit is that we understand that it's not easy. I would be laying on my couch right now watching Monk, drinking Cuban rum, eating crispy plantain chips, if I thought it was as easy as just saying, just go. I wouldn't have spent the last 4 months coming up with the curriculum in our Move Abroad School in Exodus Summit, right? Like, there's a reason we do that. It's because it's not easy, right? We talk about taking your kids, like, how do you put them in school? What is the thing how do you choose the right type of schooling for the type of child you have, right? How do you get them socialized in community? Those are the things we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about moving with your elderly parents or figuring out how to take care of them from a distance, because we know these are all things that get in the way, right? Listen, Stephanie would be laying down right now with her feet up if we thought it was like, just go.
It's General Hospital time right now where I am. That's right. Yeah, it's not easy. It's kind of simple. There's like 6 steps to moving abroad. It's simple. But each one of the steps comes with some buts, what ifs, and what abouts. Yeah. Gather an entire community of people who share their information so that you don't have to start from zero, or so you don't have to count yourself out. Listen, don't count. And 3 months away is do that, right? 1 month away, start somewhere. The worst kept secret is that once you go for a little while, you want to go for longer and longer.
No. So Danielle Brooks, part of our Exodus tribe, is here as well. A short break can replenish your soul. I saw someone in the comments say they're single mom, so it sounds impossible. Like I get a little excited about this because like half the women who are in our community who move abroad are single moms. And you know what I hear from single moms? And I have a video where a woman talked about this recently. Their children, particularly their Black boys, live a much better quality of life outside of the US. They are so free when they live abroad that when they go back to the US, they have to get the lectures, right? Like, oh no, baby, take that hoodie down, right? Like, you're in the store, take your hands out of your pockets, because they're used to living freely without their bodies being policed in the US. So almost every mother who makes it happen for herself, who figures out a way, says, my life is better and easier because in most places, help is significantly less expensive than it is in the US, right? So that's something to consider. Not only as a mother, I'm a better mother because I'm a happier person. I'm a better mother because I end up having more resources. That lower cost of living in a lot of places helps as well. But my child is also blooming on their own. A lot of mothers are like, my child been outside for 6 hours. I don't know where they are. I don't know. Listen, I talked to a friend the other day who lives in Panama on my channel, and she said she left the country where they live, came to Panama City, and told her son, meet me back here in a couple hours. He's in the city by himself exploring and no concerns. She wasn't like, oh no, is he going to be okay? She was like, something comes up, call me. And that's not a mom who's not caring about her son. That's a mom who knows no one is looking at her son as a criminal. No one is saying, oh, there's a Black boy, we have to watch him. He's just a free Black child running around. So single moms, like, I know it sounds hard, and it may be, but if the end result is worth it, isn't that a hard you could choose, right? Like, you choose hard every day. I know you do. We choose hard every day. Which hard are you going to pursue? Yeah.
I really appreciate that because I think there is obviously, like, yes, there is privilege, right? There is privilege to moving. There is privilege to pursuing something different. And you talking about like the hards, right? Like, life is hard, period. Right. And this is not also like to flatten the experience because everybody's experience is different. And I make room for that. But even for myself, like I'm still in the States. Right. And I've been blessed by the Vicarians to be supported to go on sabbatical. And this has given me an opportunity to opt out. Right. So even if I'm not opting out of the country, what is something that you can opt out of? Right. Maybe something that you've been picking up and feeling like, oh, I have to do this thing because they want me to do this thing. But you know in your heart, like, I actually don't want to do this thing. Or I'm afraid to put it down because I'm afraid to let such and such down, or my parents or my grandparents. And even understanding what you value. Like, I love that, Yvonne, I think that was you, that you were talking about that you want to honor the blood sacrifices of your ancestors. If you know that for yourself, right, that's beautiful. And I think that you can still take this question with you. Like, what can you opt out of? Like, how can you still prioritize, center yourself, even if you choose to stay, even if you don't have the means or the way to leave, like right now, but I do want to talk about, because what you mentioned is like, you have the benefit of, you all had the benefit of leaving to show us, like, almost like to report back to us, like, hey, this is actually a life that you can have, like, outside the States if you have the access and the privilege to do so, right? And if you all never left, we would not know. Like, if everybody stayed, we wouldn't know what is possible, right? And so you do have those people that do leave. You do have those people that, leave and come back, or leave and be like, hey, I'm going to send for you, or, like these kinds of things. And I think the Exodus Summit is this, right? It's like a collaboration of all these Black women that come together, and we talk about rest and talk about, like, and I saw like some of I should actually just pull up the website, but there are so many different sessions to help people to leave, and to leave quickly. Maybe, and quickly is obviously subjective, but depending on where you are in life, there's something for everybody from what I've seen. And I do want to ask you both, one, when did you all know, after you all left, right? And after you're like, okay, I want to bring this to Black women. Like, I would love to hear both of you all stories about like how you want to, how you decided, like, I've gone and now I want to send back. And I want other people to either come along or go wherever they're going in their journey.
Oh, it was, for me, it was almost immediate. Like, I don't know how long I was gone, but right away I was like, now I made a list of Black women that I was like, okay, here's who I'm going to send for. I like that you said that. We're going to send for something. I made a list. Here are 8 Black women in my life I'm going to send for. Right. It was almost immediate because I was like, once I tried to come back to the US and get a job and, you know, go back into that world and that life, and I was so different. I was like, now who else? Who's next? Right? Who next? So I made a list and started talking on YouTube for that reason, just because I wanted, here's who I'm gonna send for. I'm not coming back. I'm not, I left again right away. I'm like, I'm not coming back again, but here's who I'm going to make some resources for to help pull her out, right? More. Some of them are already gone. Some of them will never leave, right? But some of them are already gone. And, you know, I was right.
Yeah.
I
when I left, I started making content about like videos, not very good videos, very much talk. I am in Playa del Carmen today. It is my 6th day on the road, like very bad content about it. And I started posting on YouTube and on my IG, but it was really for my family and friends to know where you are, because I'm not a phone person. I'm not about to tell you where I am or where I'm going. Baby, it's on the internet. You want to know, you want to keep up, it's on the internet. And eventually strangers saw it, and other Black women would say like, oh, I've never seen another Black woman do this before. What is this career break? How can I, like, I'd love to know more about how you did this. And so I started talking to people about it. And so it's not something I intentionally sought out. People sought it out from me. And that's kind of, for me, like that spiraled into Exodus Summit, right? People saying like, I see you do this thing. How can I do it too? And so it's never from it. So Stephanie and I kind of have this like a push-pull thing. It wasn't like, I want to get you to do this. It is, if you want to do it, I can help you do it. I've done it. I coach people about this all the time. I know my stuff. I talk about it because I know what I'm talking about. So if you want it, right? I don't want to convince anyone. That's never been my ministry. Maybe you want it or you don't, because I can't want it for you. It's not going to happen if I have to be the one wanting it for you. But if you want it, let's go. Let's come up with a plan. And Exodus Summit is just a very large version of that, where you're not just hearing from me like you might with one-on-one coaching. We're hearing from 20 plus Black women who have all done the same thing, but done it in a different way with a different set of circumstances. So, yeah. We've got young ones, we got old ones, we got single moms, we got married women with sometimes reluctant husbands. We got it all. We got it all.
That's right.
I love the sometimes reluctant husbands, because yes, like I really do think I'm sharing the Exodus Summit link with you all, but I really do think that there will always be, I do want to go back to I do want to look at what Amina is saying. Leaving, making a way, and sending for our people is a part of our lineage too. Yes, hi, hello. How many of our ancestors left and then sent for somebody, right? And I do want to talk about that, because maybe your ancestors did not leave from the States, right? But a lot of our ancestors left somewhere, left from somewhere. My grandfather on my mother's side is from Missouri. He left Missouri and went to Philadelphia. You know what I mean? My grandmother on my father's side fled an abusive relationship and moved to Florida, right? And so it may not have been leaving the country, but a lot of our ancestors did leave situations that were harmful to them to go seek somewhere else. And they often sent back their family. They also sent for their family to come with them. When I look at my family in the Philadelphia area, like originally they were from Virginia. And at some point, somebody decided, hey, we're moving here. And that's where they stayed for generation after generation after generation. But this idea of leaving is not new for us. Like this idea of fleeing or leaving hard situations is not new. Like this is the Great Migration. We talk about that all the time. Like Black folks been leaving. You know what I mean? And I can only imagine when like your entire world is this one place and you leave for somewhere, you don't know what you're going to find. There was no social media back then. There was an idea, and like maybe a friend of a friend told them, hey, there's a better opportunity here. And they left with faith, like with nothing in faith, and just started over. And I often think about that for ourselves, and like how it feels like we're here with, like, we're cemented in these places, but like we've always been a fleeing people. Like we've always been a moving people, you know? So, I mean, I really appreciate you sharing that, because that really jogged my memory about that too. Yeah.
My grandmother is Gullah Geechee, right? And my grandfather is from Northern Florida. And they settled in Smyrna, Delaware. And then my grandmother's sister and her 4 kids, which became 5 or 6 kids, came up. And then her brother came up. And then some of my grandfather's siblings would come back and forth. Some of them came up, right? That's how we do it. This is not shocking or new, right? We're not pretending we have invented some new thing, right? This is new. You have to move for a better life.
Mm-hmm.
You have the right.
When you said the thing about, moving and then sending back, I thought, and some of them moved and just started new families. And honestly, I'm not saying it was the right thing to do then, but I'm saying now, no, a lot of times what we hear, particularly are women who see that there's a path to a better life. And we've talked a bit about this on our channel, but a lot of times husbands, partners can feel entrenched in where they are, more entrenched in what they've built, right? What good, bad, or indifferent, even if they hate their day-to-day, we're here, right? And so they don't end up making a move. But if you don't really like that man, leave him behind. If you love him, cool, do whatever. I'm just saying, like, what is your joy? If your joy is with someone who's like, I am never going to leave, but that person's your joy, I'm not going to tell you to leave. But if that's not your joy, and you wonder why he's snoring beside you, making all that noise, you know what I'm saying.
That is funny. But
just start a new family, girl. Just start a new family.
Because even as I think about my grandmommy on my dad's side, she left an abusive husband, and she was from Savannah, and when she was leaving, I often ask myself, like, what was it like to have 5 kids and uproot her entire life, but because violence was not her joy, right? Because she said to herself, I can't do this anymore, and I'm not gonna subject my kids to this kind of violence either. And she would tell stories about her, like, crawling on her hands and knees, trying not to wake her husband, like just not to frustrate him. And I know that she was scared. I know that she didn't know what was going to happen, but she often talked about how, like, things would just happen. She was a woman of faith. So, like, she often talked about how, like, God provided for her, like, wherever she went, she was not alone. Even meeting new people, like, she was always provided for. And I think about how she didn't have communal support, right? But things like the Exodus Summit is like, you don't have to go it alone. Like, you're not there alone. You're also there with people who have gone there before you. There's also going to be a session on, like, moving mistakes, like things that people did that didn't turn out the greatest, right? So you get to learn in real time from people without having to, like, uproot your entire life and, like, falling and failing, with children or these kinds of things, like a greater risk, so to speak, So, but yes.
Have a session on co-living, right? If you want to organize some Golden Girls and y'all get together and do this, right? We community is the answer, right? Community is the way. I'm sure your grandmother, there was somebody on her side, on her team, right, to help make sure that she could leave and get started in a new life. That's always the answer. I don't know of any major life change you can make that you're going to actually follow through with if you don't have community. Get yourself in a position to learn from other people and to share with other people and to not feel like isolated and like you have to start from zero, because this is not a start from zero type of situation. Somebody's already done it.
Yes. And I think obviously there are some fears, some things that may come up with people moving. And I think one, Exit Summit, yes. I encourage you all, if you can attend, please do. It's been transformative for me, even as someone who is still currently living here. Like, it's helping me put together a plan, and also just like the community period, right? It's just amazing. It's wonderful. It's warm. It's inviting. There are women who are literally there, one, to lead themselves, but also women who have also already left, who are coming back also to offer what they know, right, in the community. But I do want to ask you all, when you went to save yourself, right, when you left and you fled and you're coming back, for other folks, I do want to ask you what your life is like now that you have chosen yourself and your joy. Like, what does life look like now outside of the States, outside of this context that we're, a lot of us are in?
Okay. So back in the day, my life felt very, very tumultuous in the fact that there was no like, oh no, this tragic thing has happened, but still somehow there happened to be a lot of like ups and downs, ups, like it was a constant like up. This thing was great, but then this terrible thing happened, ups and downs. And now I'm very like, no, like it's very like even keel, but like at a high level. I told someone this morning that my biggest worry over the past few months, biggest worry, I'm not lying to you, my biggest worry over the past 2 months has been, if I leave my home at this time of day, is it going to rain on me before I get back? Literally, I have called Stephanie bitching like I was outside and the water got me. That's my biggest complaint, right? I could have just sat in a restaurant and waited and I would have had no complaints, but I'm stubborn. So I was trudging through the water because it started raining real hard. But like, that's not a life that I'm used to, right? The idea that this rain, is it gonna rain today? Is it gonna rain before I get back home? Is my biggest concern, biggest worry. Everything else, Gucci. We good, solid. And I've never at any point as a child, young adult, in school, after school, I've never known a life like that where there's nothing to worry about. There's nothing like I am in alignment with who I am, who I want to be, who I thought at some point I could hope to be. All the different me's are in alignment so that there's nothing internal or external that throws me off, except that weather sometimes. I'd be like, girl, where'd you come from?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Dara, who lives not too far from me, says her biggest stress right now is getting the soil mix right for her plants.
Yeah.
She's been to go for almost 3 years now, I think.
Has it been that long?
Almost, I think. What is time? I don't know.
How long has it been?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Biggest difference in my life, I think, is that everything in my life now is something that I chose.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that I do, every person, every community member is someone that I chose. And so that is another way that I feel much more peaceful. It's just like my baseline is peace. Instead of whatever it used to be, sadness. For me, it was a lot of sadness, a lot of regret, a lot of feeling like I missed opportunities and missed this and missed that, right? And now my baseline is peace.
Mm-hmm.
I got to build, I got to put every block in place in my life instead of the blocks that was already there, right? This is the foundation that you got to try to make something with. I got to start from one block to the next. Right? And that's it. I am in control of my life. I am agency over my life in a way that I never felt before. And so, like, seriously, the peace, the joy, the Contentment is beyond anything that I thought was possible, beyond what you can dreamt up,
Yeah.
right? So there's no journal entry that I have from my old life. Right? I didn't even know that I could feel like this. Community, I didn't even know it was possible for me. That's the difference. Starting and building a life that you want from things that you choose, unmatched.
So the thing related to what Stephanie says that I always like to say is that when you move to a new place, you get to pick who you are from scratch. You're building from scratch, but you don't have to bring the old stuff,
I have to.
right? If you have never dyed your hair, but now in your new country, you're a purple-haired princess, it is who you are. Like what? Who? No one's gonna be like, "Are you okay? Do we need to sit down and talk? Are you sure everything's okay?" Right? If you're now a roller skater every evening, who's gonna be like, "What's different? What's going on with you?"
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If you're a forager, a crocheter, whatever, you get to be whoever you want to be. You get to be whoever you want to be. When you start from scratch, building from zero, which sounds a lot harder than it is.
It sounds scarier than it is.
You pick a place to live. You pick a place to live in your place to live. And then you've moved before. All the pieces just come together, right? Over time, but they all come together. And you get to be whoever you want. You want to be artsy. You've never been arts. You've never picked up a paintbrush in your life, but now you're a painter. Who's going to tell you that's not art? Who? Whomst? Right? Who's going to tell you you're not an artist? It's everyone has always known you as an artist.
Mm-hmm.
That's my neighbor. She paints all night. She's an artist.
I love that.
Right?
Yeah.
You put down, I was an accountant. I'm an accountant. I'm a this. I'm a that. You can put those things down and now be whoever you want to be. And I love that about the renewal, the rebrand,
Yes.
your new life. Love it.
Yes. Because even as you're saying, you put down, I literally was like, so now that you all put down the cape, like what have you picked up? Like now that you have freed up some space, like what have you been able to pick up?
Community like never before. I've been taken under people's wings. Black women and girls have always taken me in their wing, under their wing. But I've never been a reciprocal community person, right? I've had people be real good to me, but I'm a loner, right? They reach out and pull me into their circle, but I was a loner, right? I had a barrier up. But now I'm in community, like reciprocal, caring community. And that's a new life thing. That's a new Stephanie thing, right? I'm a community builder now. Who's gonna say I'm not, right? More travel. I've always liked to travel, but I didn't, work. I had work and, limited vacation days and limited money. And so I've been able to do a whole lot more travel now and see a whole lot more places that I didn't even know I'd be interested in, be in places and love them and love the person I am in those places. Listen, I don't live in Vietnam. I stay in Costa Rica most of the year, but I love the person I am in Vietnam, right? In Vietnam, I'm a person who gets on a little bicycle, rides and gets some pho for breakfast from the one place, and I ride to the coffee place and get a little Vietnamese coffee, and then I go to the lady and have her make me some day jammers, right? I love there are different me's in different places. So those are a couple of things that I've picked up now. I do want to say one thing before Jessica says she's not been in community with people inside of Exodus Summit. I know two women who are from Pittsburgh I'm sorry, I've never turned this thing off. I know two in Pittsburgh who have left. I think part of the problem is some of the Exodus Summit women be exiting, right? But there are some Pittsburgh squad members. So make sure that you get inside the community and holler at some people, meet up with them. Yvonne and Candace both are from Pittsburgh, but girl, they're out. Okay,
They stay outside.
But there's some local.
Yeah, I think my thing's community. More community that is aligned. I will say, right? Like, it's not the coworkers. It's not the people I've known because we went to school together. It's the people who are like, these are my soul sisters. It's much easier to find people you align with when you're taking this risk, right? My mom is outside. My mom is in her 70s. I'm not gonna say too much. She's in her 70s. She's outside so much more now than she was when she was in Florida. She outside to the point where I got to be like, I think you should go home. Like, don't you want to be inside? No, she doesn't want to be inside. She is in the streets. She's in another country. She's at 70, right? It's never too late. And her friends are 30. Her friends are 40. Her friends are 80. Her boyfriend is young.
Don't.
You know, she has a whole social life that she did not have in Florida. She has a whole lifetime. She's getting decades of experiences every year. Literally, someone took a photo of her with her in an airport the other day and posted it in the Exodus Summit group. And I was like, I don't know which airport that is. I don't know where she's going. I just don't know. Sis is she's outside. In her 70s, she was flying somewhere. And then she was like, oh, well, when I get back from Turkey. And I was like, when are you going to Turkey? And she was like, beginning of October. When are you back? End of October. Okay. Like, she's not asking no permission. So it's never too late for you to do it. It's not too late for your parents to do it and to think about how those experiences can enrich their life, right? She wanted to move there because the weather was great. And now she lives in Merida. They have a Facebook group. Every time there's an outing, I can spot her in the photo. She's always in the photo. Doing some, girl, take a nap. No naps. We're not napping in our 70s. Okay, whatever. But the point is that, like, that's what she picked up. I picked up more community, definitely more travel, and more food, in the sense that I no longer have a food budget. It costs what it costs. It costs, right? I live in Mexico City. There are some amazing restaurants. I'm not gonna not go because it costs as much as my rent. That's not my business. That's not my business. I'm gonna go eat, right? All the other numbers I'd be looking at like, is this a good choice? Is this a good, no, I'm an eater now, in a way that, like, I've always loved food before, but I may not have indulged. Like, oh, that's an expensive restaurant. Now I'm like, because expensive is relative, right? I get great tacos de canasta on the corner right there for 30 cents a taco or less. No, tacos the canasta are 7 cents a taco now. They used to be 5, they're 7. Yes, because they make them anyway. They're 7, not 7 pesos. I'm sorry. That is
20 cents. I don't know.
Ridiculously low. Yes, it's crazy. It's like 20 cents. Yes. I eat whatever when I was growing up, I always thought being a travel writer was so glamorous. I'm not a travel writer because I have the time. Someone reached out to me and was like, can you do this? And I was like, I ain't doing nothing else. And you know what I write about? Food. Most of the time, it's about restaurants. I get to go check out restaurants. The pay is nonsense. I'm going to tell y'all, if you ever want to be a travel writer, they pay you in good vibes. And it's thoughts and prayers. The pay is nonsense. But like, my job today is to go explore restaurants. And I was going to eat anyway. Bet I'm in it, right? And that's something that I've picked up, is like, my desire to experience foods is something that, like, I never question. I'm gonna eat it. Crickets, I'm gonna eat it. Corn mold, you say it's edible, put it on a plate.
Oh my.
Put it on a plate.
That is funny. I
Mm-mm-mm.
I love this I love this reframe because like in the States, there's like this who you are is what you do, right? For work. Like this is your lane. Like that is who you are. Where it feels like there's like this invitation almost to be like, oh, let's explore more of like my interests. Like, oh, who else could I be? Like who else could I show up? You are saying like, oh, you could be whoever you want to be. And I think that's the beautiful part of it. Like one of the beautiful parts of it is like being able to have your own new foundation to start over. Because when you said starting over is it might be easier than what you think it is. And I'm like, you know, honestly, if you scrap everything, like if you're really starting from scratch, it really is kind of like, okay, I don't have to maintain this thing and try to figure out how I'm going to hold this and do this at the same time. And I wish that even for folks who are still here, right? Like still in the States, like I wish the same for you, right? Like I wish that you would look at your own life and be like, what have I been building? What have I been like feeling like that I'm obligated to do, or who do I feel like I'm obligated to be? And like start putting that into practice now. It could be small, right? Like maybe it's not, you know, maybe it's not right now leaving the country, that's fine, right? But like what about picking up a hobby? What like can you put down something and create more room? Or what I'm learning to do, which is like to put down things and just do nothing. That's hard, right? Like leaving room just to be human, because I feel like here we hardly ever really get a chance. And this is why I'm imploring you, if you can, to attend, because we hardly ever really get a chance to be human here. Like our context is not like our bodies were brought here for labor. That's the reason why Black bodies are in America. If you're a descendant of enslaved Africans, like you were brought here for labor. And even the people who aren't the descendants of enslaved Africans, like labor is the thing here in America. And so seeing yourself beyond labor is hard when it's right here in front of your face. I promise if you get a different context, a different perspective, it's like, oh wow, there's like all these other dimensions of myself that I have yet to explore or like try out, because there was no room for me to do that. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, so even if it's like, again, picking up a hobby, signing up for a class at your local, which I've done, which I'm doing, signing up at a local, what do you call it, community center, picking up a new sport that you may not have tried, or a new, you know, language or something like that. Like do something that gets you out of the everyday operational thing. Like we always do this, try a different movement. You know what I mean? Try a different way a route to work or something like that, you know? But I do want to respect you all's time. But as we start to come to close, I do want to ask you all about rest for a second, because I know that you all worked here in the States, and then when you left, there was a time, and we kind of talked about this a little bit before, but there was a time of like resetting and resting. And I do want to ask you, because I think a lot of people think like, oh, I'm going to leave the country, I'm going to go there, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, I'm going to, you know, have all this like energy and stuff like that. And I want to ask you both, like for the first 3 to 6 months, what that was like for you, like transitioning from this context to moving abroad.
The places you're going, them people don't be going like that. Okay, the places that you're going, them people take it easy. Okay, the places that you're going, those restaurants are closed from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. Right? You need to be able to slow down. They will put you in a state of doing less.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they live their lives. And it's really hard to be go, go, go in a place that does not honor go, go, go.
Mm-hmm.
When I left on that sabbatical back in 2015, it surprised me how much time I spent just in hammocks taking naps. That's the thing that I learned how to get in and out of a hammock, and I learned how to I always knew how to take naps. But there was a lot of sleeping that first time when I thought I was going to go, go, go. I thought I was going to these places to see the things. I'm going to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. I'm going to go see the monkey temple, something. I've never been there, right? I passed through Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia 2 times on my sabbatical. Actually, didn't go because I enjoyed laying down and sleeping. It's not uncommon for Black women for this to be the first time in their adult life, the first time in most of their life that they have not had something that they have to do, someplace they have to be. So there's a whole lot of rest, a whole lot of sleeping, a whole lot of resetting and recalibrating. So yeah, I went to a lot of places and saw nothing. I went to a lot of places and had a beautiful view from my bed or from the sofa and was satisfied. It's not uncommon to get someplace and be like, I don't feel like it. And I have a say.
So when I took my break, I was going to be gone. I knew I was going to be gone for a year, and I was going to go back to my old life. So I was like, a week in this city, I'm going to see all the things. A week in this city, I'm going to see all the things. A week in this city. After a couple months, I was like, what if I just slept? I was exhausted because I was trying to keep up a vacation pace, right? Like I was treating every new city like I was on vacation there and not recognizing the fact that like this was a new normal for me. And so I needed rest days and my body needed to recover from a lifetime of labor, right? So when I left, it was like there were parts of my body that kind of got in the swing of things, but there were also times where my body would be like, you think you're going out, but you're really staying in bed. Enjoy, right? We're like, I could not get up and I wanted to get up and out, but I just couldn't do it. And I realized that what I needed to give myself permission to rest. And I hadn't done that yet. But once I gave myself permission to rest, then everything moved smoother, right? Everything was just, oh, this is easier. I don't have to feel bad about not wanting to get out and see every museum on my list, right? It don't matter. It'll still be here next time I come back. And I started to get more confidence that I would be coming back. If I'm not seeing it this time, I'll see it next time. Stephanie's going to be in Kuala Lumpur again. Maybe next time she will go to the temple. Maybe not. By the way, once she was in the pause and I was like, they have great whale watching there. You should go whale watching. And she was like, I'm not leaving my hotel. She was there for weeks. I said, go whale watching.
3 months.
I said, 3 months. I said, what have you done? She's like, nothing. I'm like, they have great whale watching. Go watch whales. It's whale watching season. And she was like, I'm probably not going to go outside. 3 months. Now, then she was in Ecuador 2 weeks ago, whale watching. And I was like, if it's meant to be, it'll happen at some point. It's just random, but funny and kind of off topic. When we talk about like being in alignment, I know I'm in alignment with like who I am now. Earlier this year, Stephanie and I were in Fiji, and randomly we met Elizabeth Gilbert in our resort. Like people have mentioned Eat, Pray, Love here a couple times, and like in my old life, I would have never been like, is that Elizabeth? That's the sweet potato whistle. Sorry. But I never would have been like, is that Elizabeth? There would have been no points of contact. But this being who I'm supposed to be and where I'm supposed to be means that like the author of a book that I read and that like kind of defines life for a lot of women in my community, or like has impacted life for a lot of women in my community, is walking down this path past my hotel room. And now we're going to go see her. She's at breakfast with us, waving and saying hi. And Stephanie and her are best friends now because they were talking in the airport on their flight out of town.
Friends
like that. It's just when it's meant to happen, it happens, right? Like these are all signs that what we're doing is like, it's what we're supposed to be doing, right? Eat,
Yes.
Pray, Love is like the thing for women who are like, you know, whether we buy into it or not, it's still a thing. And so seeing her was kind of a sign of like, okay, all right.
There is such a thing as flow in your life. There
Yeah.
is such alignment. I don't think it's supposed to be all struggle.
Mm-mm.
I don't think it's supposed to be mostly struggle. I think there is something to letting things flow, to getting yourself in alignment, and then getting yourself in flow, or letting yourself be in. The struggle is not the way. Right?
No, I love that. I love that you all shared. Thank you for sharing that, by the way. I love that you all shared that because I think, like you, okay, when I went to Mexico for that month, I thought too that I'm going to do all the things. And we didn't. Number one, it was really, really hot. And so midday, I was like, oh, I'm not going outside. Right. And so one that forces you like the heat. And I think Marissa Price talked about this as well. Like the heat, like it forces you to slow down. First of all, nobody's walking as fast as you are. No one is walking. And you realize like, oh, wait, let me readjust to like their culture, like to their experience. But yes, I was exhausted. When having nothing to do, I thought I would do all the things. I didn't do anything. I literally, we waited until maybe like the last few days, like, okay, I guess we can do an excursion or something that we could take back with us. Yeah.
You probably came back feeling better than when you left.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I sure did.
So yeah, no one's walking as fast as you are, and nobody's eating on the go or drinking coffee besides other Americans. You can always spot them.
Marissa says, I'm still sweating from that day. Listen, and I had the pleasure of meeting with Marissa in Mexico, and that was a great time, and it was very, very hot. But yes, like I did come back refreshed from Mexico, and it was so interesting coming back to the States that like that panicked feeling, like it was a very different feeling. Like when you get off the plane and you're like, oh, I'm back home. And then it's just like all this like hustle and bustle, the propaganda is as soon as you walk through the door, like America, the greatest country, you know, in the whole wide world. And you're like, oh, we're back here. We're back here. And since then I've been trying to get back to experience that, but also try to create that in my own life. Like I literally asked myself, what can I bottle from this experience and take back home with me? Like, because, you know, yes, I live in America, but what way of living? Because when I did slow down, things did align. Things weren't, the world didn't fall apart, you know, and I was able to see a different part of myself that's not rushing and hustling and bustling. And I do want to real quick read through some of you all's responses to that question. Yvonne says, oh, sorry, I didn't see this. I cannot start my day without, oh, thank you. Okay, sorry. I cannot start my day without listening to one of your transformative videos, so uplifting and motivational. Shared your content with so many who have also benefited. Thank you. Thank you so much, Yvonne. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. That's really kind. I appreciate that. And I'm glad that you got something from that. But Danielle says, for me, it began with slowing down and letting go of everything except the business that pays me and motherhood. I only add things that bring me joy. I also prioritize rest. Thank you so much for sharing that, Danielle. I appreciate that. Easier Said with Meg says, one time I took a different route to work and found a new donut place, right? Like doing something new, like doing something different, changing your perspective. I think is like a key to like a more joyful life, a more exciting life, just to be able to see what other things are out there. Hi, Janelle, 0919. No place moves like America. That it's a very hurried pace, very exhausting, very unhuman, very. Yes. Yvonne says we need to learn to love ourselves separate from the European value and beauty paradigm, especially related to colorism. Whether we stay or leave, we must be intentional about our healing journey. I agree. And I will say it can be very difficult, especially if you're here and it's always in your face all the time. But yes, I completely agree, Yvonne. Marissa says, woo, it was a difficult transition for me. My body was still in overwork mode, right? So my point is like, have grace with yourself because you don't know what you don't know, right? Like you can learn from other people, but your experience is going to be your experience and there's no rushing. And I appreciate Roshida and Stephanie telling me like, as I'm on sabbatical, like you're not doing it wrong because you're resting. You're not doing it wrong because your body is saying no. And I really feel like I finally have a chance, and I'm really grateful, and I thank you again. I really have a chance to like listen to my body because we're always taught to override our body. Like we're always taught to push our body beyond the boundary. When your body is tired, that means you're tired. But we're like, no, let me get coffee. Let me, get up and walk around. No, your body wants to lay down. It's tired, but we never really get a chance to be human. And Yvonne says, check out Black Healing Retreats. I'm a member and considering one of the retreats. Awesome. Exclusively dedicated to Black women. Thank you for sharing that resource. I really appreciate that. JW says, I would pick up shifts to work on the weekend and even preparing for work on normal days, but I noticed my body would not allow me to get out of bed. Right. And it's like, we don't ever really get a chance to, again, pause and to check in with ourselves. And I just want that for y'all. I just want that. I think we all want that for y'all. Okay, let's see. Sorry. Oh, yes. Okay. Hello, Revolutionary Women's Radio. Yes, it's letting go of the hyperproductivity attached to our identity, self-worth, and sense of guilt for me. Okay? Yes. And this conversation has been really uplifting even for me, and I appreciate Stephanie and Rashida's time. Thank you so much for being here. But I do, before we close, I know I keep saying we're going to close, but I would love if you all could share something that you're looking forward to with the Exodus Summit, and something that you would want to share with us about it that you're really excited for us to experience. So one for you and one for us, if possible.
I am looking forward to tears. There's always tears. There's always release. There's always an opportunity in somewhere during the summit, during a breakout room, salon, during something. There's an opportunity for some women to release in a way that they haven't, to feel hope in a way that they haven't, to feel supported in a way that they haven't. So I really appreciate seeing some tears, because some women don't have a space where they can do that, right? Don't have a space in their lives where they can do that. And then I think I'm looking forward to a couple of this. Let me see, I'll pick a session. I'm looking forward to, I think, the session on talking to your employer about going remote or taking a leave of absence. I think it's probably a session that's going to get somebody the fastest change in her life, right? Somebody, not every employer is going to be like, oh, sure, right? But somebody is going to find that they get a yes when they weren't expecting it. So I'm really looking forward to that, to see. I think that's going to be the first big celebration. Every time in the summit, there's always somebody who reports something back. And I think that's probably going to be the first report back moment of celebration inside of the summit this year, I think.
For me, I am looking forward to those aha moments, seeing women in the chat say I'm taking notes, or this particular thing the speaker just said is going to help me. It's going to help me figure out how to do X, Y, or Z, right? Because it's why we do it, right? Like I said, we be feet up deep with the remote in our hand, right? Maybe a hand down our pants doing the Al Bundy if we didn't have to do this, not have to do this, but feel called to do this. We would, right? So those aha moments, when I conceive that through line from something our speaker said to seeing women make the move. Like last year, I think it was Dr. Joy who talked about possibility models. And every time, the way I was writing that down, the way everybody was writing down, the idea that you can see yourself in somebody else, and they can be a possibility model for you and your future, has changed the way I look at the world and the way I talk about it. And I'm looking forward to those moments. Specifically a talk, I'll be a little selfish on this one, because I get to be. Christine Platt, the Afro-minimalist, is coming to talk to us about liberation through less. And as you may be able to guess, I am not a minimalist. And there are a lot of times every year, there's at least one or two sessions where I won't be listening to that. Even if I'm live interview, I need to interview the person and handle the Q&A, I'll still be I didn't hear what she said. But I think this year I'm actually going to try to absorb some of the how can my life be easier with less what? I don't know, because I'm not gonna have less plants. I'm not gonna have less art. So Christine's gonna have to come up with a new category. I don't know what category it's gonna be. I'm already struggling with it, and her talk hasn't happened yet. Already struggling. But this is as open as I can be to the idea. This is me being open, and I sound hella resistant, I know, but I am trying to woo. And because there are a lot of talks that are going to be super helpful for specific people, moving with your children, and how to handle your aging parents, aging in place in a co-living situation. These are all going to be important talks. But the one I think I'm going to emotionally struggle with the most, mentally and emotionally struggle with, is the minimalism. But I think that's a good reason. As someone who's had to clear out a storage unit that they had for 5 years, I think it's a very, very important talk for women who are planning this move abroad. How do you live with less? And how can you be freer with less things?
That sounds amazing. I'm excited. I'm excited to go and listen and to learn and to commune and to connect. I'm trying to tell y'all, like, this has literally changed my life. Like, being connected to this community. I'm serious. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful for you all going, and I'm grateful for you all reaching back to show us that we can go too. and also provide different perspectives, right? Different perspectives that we might not see, even that we can apply to our lives right now. But I am sharing the link with you all for the Exodus Summit. Please, if you can, please come. It's life changing. No hyperbole. No hyperbole. I'm putting it in the chat right now. But I want to thank you both, Stephanie and Roshida, for your time, for sharing. Oh yes, did you all have anything you wanted to say?
Please use the link. If you're coming to Exodus, use Alicia's link. This is a way that you can give something to her, right? This is an affiliate link. We're not pretending like it's not. It's an affiliate link, and she'll get a commission without it costing you anything extra. It'll give her a couple extra dollars, right? A way that you can thank her for creating this amazing space, this amazing community. You can help support her while she's on her sabbatical. One way you can do that is by using the link that she puts in the description of this video to register for Exodus Summit. I know y'all love to Google things and find the link yourself. You don't have to find it yourself. It's in the description. Alicia's link is in the description of this video. And Alicia, it's always wonderful to talk with you. We really, really appreciate you're young, you're so young, and we really appreciate the perspective, the approach, right? The way that the thoughtfulness, the way you have built your community, the way that you've built your platform, the way that you are, thinking and giving your message. We love being here. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having us. And thank you for always being for creating a community that we enjoy coming to.
Oh, okay. That makes me happy. Thank you so much. That makes my heart happy. I really appreciate that. And I'm grateful to the chat, the community here. Like, they're amazing. These people are amazing. And I feel like I'm gonna cry, but thank you. That's so sweet. That's so kind. Thank you for your time. And I will see you all at Exodus Summit. So yes, yay. Thank you all so much for being here. I'm going to put up the comments. People are saying thank you, sending hearts and saying yay. This was everything. Thank you so much. Yes, life-changing and soul-stirring. I also shared Stephanie Perry's and Roshida Dowe's channel in the chat. And I'll put it in the description if I haven't already. But please check out both their channels. Life-changing. Okay, if you thought this was good, it's better. It's better over there. So thank y'all so much for being here. And I will talk to you all on the next one. Yay. All right. Good night, everybody. Bye.